They called it a mild March morning, the kind New Yorkers trusted without question. By nightfall, the city would be buried alive. On March 11, 1888, the eastern United States went to sleep, expecting spring. In New York City, the air was damp but not threatening. Horse-drawn streetcars clattered along familiar routes, telegraph operators tapped out routine messages, and families planned the week ahead. Weather forecasts, still a young science, predicted rain. No one imagined that within hours, one of the most catastrophic natural disasters in American history would lock the nation's most powerful cities in ice, silence communication across states, and claim hundreds of lives. This was the Great Blizzard of 1888. Later known simply as the Great White Hurricane. The storm arrived quietly. Rain began to fall late on March 11th, soaking coats and cobblestones. Then, as temperatures plunged with shocking speed, rain turned to sleet, and sleet hardened into blinding snow. By dawn on March 12th, New York City was under siege. Snow fell sideways, driven by winds exceeding 45 miles per hour. Drifts rose higher than second-story windows, some reaching 20 to 50 feet, where wind piled snow into urban canyons. The city that never slept was immobilized before it fully understood what was happening. At that time, New York depended almost entirely on above-ground infrastructure. Telegraph lines ran on poles, streetcars moved on exposed rails, and most long-distance communication traveled by wire. The blizzard snapped these systems like twigs. Telegraph poles toppled, wires froze and broke, and within hours, communication between New York and the rest of the country went dark. For nearly 4 days, America's largest city was effectively cut off from the nation. Public transportation collapsed almost instantly. Elevated trains packed with commuters became iron traps. One train on the 3rd Avenue line derailed after colliding with another stalled ahead of it, killing the engineer and trapping passengers for hours in freezing conditions. Horse-drawn streetcars were abandoned where they stood, half buried. Horses left to freeze in their harnesses. Thousands of people who had left home expecting a routine commute found themselves stranded miles away, forced to seek shelter wherever they could. Churches, saloons, strangers' homes. The human cost mounted rapidly. Official estimates later placed the death toll at around 400 people, though some historians believe the true number was higher. Many died from exposure, caught outdoors as the storm intensified faster than anyone anticipated. Others perished in maritime disasters. Along the Atlantic coast, the blizzard churned the sea into chaos. More than 200 ships were wrecked or damaged from Maryland to New England. Sailors were lost when vessels ran aground or sank under the combined weight of ice and waves. Entire crews vanished, leaving only debris to wash ashore days later. In New York Harbor, ships were trapped in ice so thick that ferries could not move. The vital connection between Manhattan and Brooklyn, still separate cities at the time, was severed. Brooklyn residents who worked in Manhattan were stranded, and food shortages began to loom. Milk wagons could not move. Coal deliveries stopped. In tenements, families huddled together, burning furniture for warmth as fuel supplies dwindled. The storm's reach extended far beyond New York. Boston recorded over 20 inches of snow. In parts of Connecticut and Massachusetts, drifts swallowed houses to their rooftops. Rural communities were isolated for weeks. In the countryside, farmers tunneled through snow to reach barns, discovering livestock frozen solid. In some areas, trains derailed after plowing blindly into drifts harder than concrete, trapping passengers in unheated cars until rescuers could dig them out by hand. What made the blizzard especially deadly was not just its power, but the false sense of security that preceded it. March was considered late for severe winter weather. People were unprepared, dressed lightly, and unconcerned. Weather forecasting relied on scattered observations and rudimentary models. There was no national system capable of issuing urgent, coordinated warnings. By the time danger was clear, it was too late to retreat. In the aftermath, the storm forced America to confront its vulnerability. New York City took stock of the chaos and recognized that its dependence on above-ground infrastructure turned a natural disaster into a human catastrophe. One of the most profound changes came underground. The blizzard directly accelerated plans for a subterranean transit system. Within years, construction began on what would become the New York City subway, designed to operate regardless of snow or storms. When the first line opened in 1904, it stood as a silent monument to lessons learned in 1888. Communication systems also evolved. The blizzard demonstrated the fragility of above-ground telegraph and telephone lines, pushing cities to bury critical cables underground. This shift not only improved reliability, but reshaped urban landscapes, removing forests of poles that had once cluttered streets. The storm helped modernize America's cities in ways few single events ever have. The federal government, too, took notice. The disaster highlighted the urgent need for better weather forecasting and coordination. Over time, this contributed to improvements in the U.S. Weather Bureau, the ancestor of today's National Weather Service. Data collection expanded, forecasting techniques advanced, and storm warnings slowly became more reliable, saving countless lives in the decades that followed. Yet, for those who lived through it, the blizzard was not a story of progress, but of survival. Diaries from the time described eerie silence, broken only by wind, snow pressing against windows like a living force, and the fear of stepping outside, not knowing if the path back would vanish behind you. Children remembered crawling out of second-floor windows onto snowbanks. Adults recalled navigating streets by climbing over drifts rather than walking around them. When the skies finally cleared on March 14th, the landscape was unrecognizable. Streets resembled frozen rivers. Familiar landmarks disappeared beneath white mountains. It took weeks to fully restore transportation and commerce. Some neighborhoods smelled of decay as the bodies of horses, buried and forgotten, slowly emerged with the thaw. And yet, life resumed. New York dug itself out, quite literally, with shovels, steam-powered snow melters, and sheer determination. Newspapers coined dramatic names for the event, turning it into legend. The Great White Hurricane entered American memory as a reminder that nature could still humble even the most confident industrial power. More than a century later, skyscrapers pierce the skyline, subways roar beneath the streets, and satellites track storms from space. But the blizzard of 1888 still echoes in every underground tunnel and buried cable. It was a moment when America learned, through ice and silence, that progress without preparation carries a hidden cost. What began as an ordinary March rain became a defining chapter in U.S. history, a storm that froze a nation in place, then pushed it forward forever.